Welcome everyone to Post Crisis Chat, the Brave and the Bold edition. I'm your co-host Randy, and with me is the ever self-conscious.
I thought there was going to be more to that, so that's kind of why I paused there. But yes, I'm Cookie, and I cannot react to anything that Randy is doing at the moment because I'm reading our script, where I'm supposed to say, if you are a first-time viewer, welcome. Please remember to like and subscribe to our videos, please. The channel and everything. We would like it if you hit that notification bell so that you can be notified next week when we upload our next video.
It's such a small thing to do, but it really does help the channel grow. If you're not a first-time viewer, welcome back. I am so happy that you're here.
Well, it's just you. I mean, I think I'm kind of happy that they're here too. Um, so we're going to jump to the part where we say, please be advised that we will be talking about decades old spoilers in the issue that we will be discussing today. And the issue that we're going to be talking about today is, hold on, let me grab it right here. It is Swamp Thing issue 45. It is written, as always, by Alan Moore, with artwork this time by Stan. Did we figure out how to pronounce his name? Is it Woch?
That sounds about right to me.
Okay, so we're going to go with Stan Woch and Alfredo Alcala.
And then that cover that is currently on the screen was by Steve Bissette. So, fun story. Steve Bissette is on Blue Sky. And from now on, I will be tagging him in every video we post where I am complaining about him or praising him.
Um, I'm going to make sure to do nothing but kiss that man's butt.
And actually, you know what? In this situation, I do want to praise him. This cover is pretty epic. I mean, we've
This is,
got Swamp
yeah,
Thing standing there with uh, what is presumably an undead gunslinger. Guessing it's undead just by the shape of the hand claw thing, with that orange background, and just everything about this is perfect. The angle of it, um, all of it.
which is weird from you because usually you hate it when the background has nothing on it. Like you don't like blank backgrounds. You're very um, like OCD about what your artwork looks like.
In this case, it works. The negative space is just right for this cover. It's really eye catching and attention getting.
I agree. I knew it wasn't going to be true, but I had this brief thought that popped in my head. It was like, oh man, is he going to travel back in time and is he meeting Jonah Hex? So like, oh, that would be so epic.
Yeah, it
Um,
absolutely would.
yeah. Spoilers, it's not Jonah Hex.
So this cover is everything I want it to be. If I had any criticism for this cover, it would just be Swamp Thing's face. It's not terribly detailed, um, but really, it for this cover it works. I mean, that's the only slight criticism I have.
I feel like that's nitpicking criticism right
It
there
really is.
because yeah, because like at that distance, you're not going to get a lot of detail in a character's face.
Yeah, that's fair. So yes, this is probably one of my favorite Swamp Thing covers out of the run. Top five for sure. Um, we start with the banging of a nail and a hammer. Um, bang, bang, bang. And then we see a pair of gunslingers. And we learn that they are in the seance room, which has 13 fireplaces. I had to go back and read that again to make sure I read it right. And yes, there are 13 fireplaces in a single room. An argument over a card game has escalated to the two men shouting at each other. One is called Ed, and the other is called the Dutchman. They give each other what should be lethal shots, but then we see them continue to fire at each other.
Yeah, as the story progresses, this page will make way more sense. My first read through, I was a little lost because I was confused as why they were still shooting. I thought maybe he was shooting other people. Uh, it just kind of threw me for a loop for a little bit, but it obviously gets explained later on.
Before we started the show, I had done a read through of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing on my own, and this was an issue that kind of stuck with me. Um, I don't know why this one stuck with me. Maybe the Old West theme, which is a favorite of mine. I love those old 1950s cowboy comics. Um, but either way, I did remember this one from my previous read through, and so I was pretty sure I understood what was going on here. But that was almost a little cheating since I had recently read it. Um, anyway, so at the top of the next page, we see a different kind of bang, kind of. This is a rifle being fired, but next to the rifle it says, "The sound of hammers must never stop." Um, the different kinds of hammers that are juxtaposed between the two different things that we see in here, uh, really cool writing on Alan Moore's part, in my opinion.
No, I definitely agree, and I love the page layout with this of um, the hammer, with the gun in the first panel, and then the hammer in the, I guess it's towards the middle of the page, all white. It's then you just got those two panels, and then the one where the story is progressing. Um, Again, just two panels, and the characters are there, all dark. It's just kind of like a nice contrast of, pardon me, I never cough. Um, that's a nice contrast of color right there.
Yeah, I agree. Since we're talking about these characters, let's talk about these two couples. So we're told that this is in San Miguel, California. These couples have come to the deserted 6-acre mansion of Amy Cambridge, long dead family member of the designer of the Cambridge repeater rifle. Probably the one we see here at the top of this page. We find out that the Cambridge repeater wasn't that popular, that it was basically a second rate copy of a Winchester. It was cheaper than a Winchester, so a lot of people used them for killing back in the day. On the back of the car, we see an NRA sticker. This is Rod's car that they are driving in, and apparently Rod is a fan of guns. The people in the car are Dave, Judy, Rod, and Linda. Dave and Linda are married, and I think Rod and Judy might be married too. I'm not sure. Did we get a confirmation that they were married?
Not, I didn't really, I don't recall confirmation. I mean, they were definitely dating, but I could not tell if they were actually married. I assumed they were married. The way they bickered, I assumed they were married.
Judy and Rod are together, and Judy does not seem interested in checking the old mansion out, but Linda comes to Rod's defense and insists that they check it out. There's a discussion about the superstition of knocking on wood after Dave says something about it. Linda condescends Dave for believing in a superstition. There's a mention of people back in the day believing wood elementals watch over and protect people. Rod makes some inappropriate sexual jokes that seem to make Judy uncomfortable. Yeah, Rod does strike me as that kind of a guy.
I almost instantly took a disliking to both Linda and Rod. I just, like, the first 2 pages of their introduction, I was not a fan, did not care about them, which is hilarious because that one panel on the third page, I thought a beautiful face drawn for Linda, beautiful face for an ugly character.
That face is really good. It actually seems like a better face than we would get from Bissette. I'm kind of glad Woch was the one who did this.
I'm now knowing that the man has blue sky and you will be tagging him. I will be defending Bissette of, he's a good artist. I've seen many of his work that's very, very well done. I mean, there could be excuses for Swamp Thing. We already know he was rushed at times. Uh, Plus, this could have been like early Bissette when he was still, like, honing his style, all that stuff. So, please, Mr. Bissette, you can hate him all you want. Don't hate me.
You're such a people pleaser.
I really am. Well, especially when they're people that are in the industry and I like them.
So let's
If it was John Byrne, I'd be like, hey, you, John Byrne.
see. So next we get a full page showing how massive this mansion really is. This whole house doesn't even fit into the comic book frame. The people up top are already tiny. I really like how the Swamp Thing name of the book, Ghost Dance. I'm sorry. I really like how the Swamp Thing name and the name of the book, Ghost Dance, are incorporated into the drawing at the top and
Yeah.
below for the title at the bottom. Um,
I've mentioned this before, but like whenever I see that, it always makes me think of Will Eisner's Spirit.
I need to read more Will Eisner.
To be fair, I've never actually read Will Eisner. I've just looked at the artwork, and the artwork is gorgeous. I haven't read it though.
And another thing I'll say, the detail on this mansion is just chef's kiss. It is so good. Like individual roof shingles, you can make them out. I mean, this
It's
is this is top notch drawing right here.
there's actually a point I want to make about some of this, and when we get to the next page, I will make that point because, like, even seeing the house the way it's drawn, it like makes me think of something, and I'll bring it up when we get to that point in the next page.
On the next page, the group of couples talk about why the house was built. Amy Cambridge carried on extending the mansion for 40 years, according to the ghost instructions. The workers worked every day and night to continue the construction because the ghost said the hammers must never stop. That's how the ghost wanted it. Rod doesn't believe in ghosts for now. It is mentioned the Cambridge family wanted to turn it into a gun museum, but they changed their minds due to the house supposedly being haunted. Linda does not think the house is haunted and calls this a little too Stephen King for her taste. I kind of like the Stephen King call out here. Dave says he's
That's
going. Sorry, go ahead.
that's where I was going to make my point. So the Stephen King reference, because I was thinking it before it happened, but then it even once she mentioned Stephen King, everything from the description of this house's history to the design of the house on that page, and then now the Stephen King reference, it kind of makes me think of, I don't know if you saw it, the miniseries they did, Rose Red, that was kind of like Stephen King. I don't know if he wrote the script or just the plot for it was like a TV movie done in the it's like mid to late 90s, could even be early 2000s. I remember watching it when I was younger. Um, but it everything about this screams Rose Red, and I wonder if there was any crossover there, like any influence from King, because he obviously this was before he did it.
Yeah, that's interesting question. Tell us more about Rose Red, audience. If you know, drop us a comment down below. Um, So anyway, Dave says he wasn't going to say haunted, just abnormal due to the architecture, which was built to the ghost specifications. The mansion has 160 rooms and 13 bathrooms. There's that number 13 again. Rod makes another tasteless joke, and Linda laughs at Rod's joke. Linda decides to go explore. Rod agrees. Dave is not sure, and Rod tells Dave to lighten up. They make another Stephen King reference, this time to The Shining. Uh, then Rod continues to making jokes towards Linda while Dave and Judy look on awkwardly. Judy apologizes for Rod, and Dave says that Linda plays up to Rod's act. Dave says that Linda just likes to flirt. Dave and Judy decide to go look for their partners. The first door Dave opens has a brick wall on the other side. Dave thinks he's made a mistake and that this place has corridors and doors that don't lead anywhere. Then Dave realizes that Judy has disappeared.
It already kind of got like a creepy vibe to it. Like this, if this didn't have that horror vibe before, it's like this definitely feels like kind of a Tales from the Crypt story almost.
Yeah, and we know from D&D what the most important rule in D&D is, right?
Never listen to the dungeon master.
Got him!
No. never split the party, which is the
I like
first
my
thing they
rules
did when
too.
they got in the house.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it makes sense with the other two because I'm pretty sure the way they're flirting, like, all right, they're going off together. This definitely feels like a Daphne Fred situation going on here.
Next, we start hearing about Franny Mitchell not being able to get her wig fixed right. There is a mention from the narrator that Amy Cambridge had a no mirrors rule in the mansion. The problem with the wig is it's too far back and doesn't cover the little black beauty spot that Will Roach's wife had made on Franny's temple. But if the wig left if the wig left the back of Franny's head uncovered, that was worse. You could see Franny's brains then. Meanwhile, Rod is looking for Linda and encounters a naked woman in the dark that he assumes to be Linda.
I assumed it to be Linda as well. Um, yeah, I, I think at this point I kind of settled into the fact that my instincts of my hatred for Rod and for Linda was well established and well what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the right word for it. But basically I was right. They're scumbags.
Yeah, yeah, good call. And although I was kind of questioning why the wig would cover up Franny's brains.
Yeah, that confused me a little bit. But then even before I got to the next page, going off the Stephen King thing, I immediately went to The Shining. It's like, okay, he encounters a naked woman in the dark. There's a talk of brains and wigs. Is this going to be that scene in The Shining?
Maybe. Next, we see Rod in bed with the naked woman complaining about Linda's husband, Dave. Then, all of a sudden, the naked woman's hair comes off, and we see some dripping blood on it. Dave runs away in terror and runs out the door of an upper story mansion. He falls a long way. The narrator mentions that Dave was heard screaming for exactly 3 seconds. I like how the house is a maze, uh, and in some ways, people are getting what's coming to them. But I bet there's going to be some innocents caught up in the karma too.
I mean, if it's a horror comic, there's got to be, because if you're just killing off scumbags that we don't like, it might as well be a Punisher comic.
Good call. Um, so next we see the hammer banging again. Linda is looking for Rod. Linda wanders into the room where Ed Cuddy and the Dutchman have been in the seance room for over an hour arguing about the card game. There's not much of either of them left. I love, love, love the art here. Ed and the Dutchman are in literal pieces from having shot each other up. The expression of horror on Linda's face is perfect. I love everything about this panel. Can we just get Mr. Woch to do this comic book all the time?
The problem is that I think we've learned from the last time that one issue that we liked. Okay, let me say that again. I think we learned from the last time that that one issue that we liked, he isn't always the best at the horror element. He nailed it this time because I mean I'm 100% agreeing that panel is beautiful with the basically torso of, I'm assuming that's the Dutchman that's firing, and then Ed's basically just lower half is all that's left. That's beautiful. Everything about this page was great. I thought even the I not iconic, but the timing of having the uh, cheating spouse basically looking for the guy she's going to go bang, and then you get the hammer going bang, bang, bang. Uh,
Oh,
I,
I missed that, but that is a very good call.
I thought that was beautiful, and then even the look on her face as she opens the door, it's kind of, he did a beautiful job. It looks very seductive and also kind of inquisitive a little bit, and I really like the way he's handling all these faces in this book.
Yeah, 100%. This looks so good. Um, And I even want to mention the coloring on this. The coloring is just phenomenal. The way, it's supposed to be a dark room. So you've got, the purples and the blues, kind of putting everything in shadow. But we are focusing on Linda and Linda's shock and horror. So she's lit up just like she should be. Even if there's not a specific explanation for her being that lit up, it still works in this scene.
No, it's really because every panel she's in, she is the light of the panel. Everything else is heavily shaded, dark. Like you said, a lot of dark coloring with blues, purples, grays, blacks, and then she is the one like figure that has any color to it.
Yeah, just this is probably my favorite panel of the book. I don't know. I may change my mind later, but yeah, it's just so good. Anyway, so we move on to the next page, and I love how the Dutchman's gun is held by the hand on the floor here, and Ed is little more than legs. Linda looks genuinely afraid here, and at first I didn't understand where the blindfolded people were coming from, but then I realized that these guns had likely been used by firing squads. So you have a bunch of people who show up in the seance room to read Linda's face by braille. It seems they are getting it seems we are getting more and more ghosts showing up in the house. The last thing Linda hears is deafening gunfire, and then we see the hammer going. Bang, 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 building more of the mansion.
The pacing of this is done really well too, because with after each bang, 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 you're getting more ghosts showing up. You're kind of leading into a little bit more horror. There's like a lot going on into this.
Yeah, this is a phenomenal book so far. Talking about it more and getting into it more, I may even have to improve my score when we get to the end. Then we jump over to Judy, who is searching for everyone else. The narrator mentions that she has discovered a skylight set into the floor. The implications of that are interesting because it means that at one time the floor was probably a roof, but then they built it, built another story onto the house. Linda discovers a freestanding wardrobe and decides to check inside. She sees a herd of buffalo headed her way and quickly closes the door. Another interesting implication here is that all of these ghost buffalo have been killed by the Cambridge repeating rifle.
I didn't even pick up on that. That didn't even enter my mind because I just assumed, okay, ghost mansion, weird, creepy things happening, buffalo. By this point, I forgot it was about, oh, okay, everything that was killed by the guns is showing up in the house. That makes sense with the buffalo.
Yeah, and I like how you got like the one buffalo in the front with the red eyes. You can't really see the eyes of the others, but it lets you know that there's something just not right about these buffalo. And then of course they've got, the ones in the front, at least you can see the gun wounds on them.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't even catch that. Wow. Some of the things you miss when you're trying to read, because I was like, I'm trying to divide my attention between the beautiful artwork and then trying to read the story.
Yeah, and once again, the expression on the faces on Linda's face here is just phenomenal. She is in shock and awe at the fact that there are buffalo inside a wardrobe. Like, it's almost like she's never read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and knows, or the what was it, The Indian in the Cupboard. Things can live inside there.
I know enough from horror movies to if there's a lone uh, wardrobe in the middle of a room that's just sitting dead center in the room, don't look into the bloody wardrobe. Just walk away.
But
I
what
mean,
if her
this
people were in there?
who cares? You don't do it. I mean, this is the one thing I've learned from watching black comedians is they always say the same thing. Black people in horror movies should be the ones that survive because they're the ones that are like, no, I'm not going towards the crazy crap. We're leaving. They're right. That's what you should do.
Okay, so then we go to the next page, and Linda can still hear the buffalo on the other side. She tries to convince herself that what she saw is not real. She remains unconvinced when the buffalo break through the wardrobe into the room that she is in. Linda is trampled by the buffalo, and the narrator mentions how the stench of musk and hide would last for weeks. Uh, I just want to say the art on the buffalo here are gorgeous. Then Linda lying on the floor, bloodied and broken in the dark. Just everything about this bottom portion of the page is amazing. The way her arm is just kind of coming up out of the dust. I mean, oh, this is so good.
It's beautiful. It really is. I'm gonna say I would like to feel sorry for her, uh, but at the same time, again, I just think stupid people problems. I mean, whether you believe it or not, if you open the cupboard and there's buffalo charging at you through the cupboard, whether it's a psychedelic hallucination, maybe if you're still hearing the noise after you close the door, yeah, I mean, your butt could have been saved by like a 3 foot step sideways.
Yeah, yeah, she might not have been quite so injured. Um, so we see excitement spreading through the house as all the ghosts are waking up and moving around. We find out that there are celebrities and Native Americans in the ghost crowd. Then we get an interesting note from the narrator. Like the creatures of Rosewood, see our prior episode on those vampires, and Kennesaw, once again, see our prior episode on that werewolf. All these creatures and the ghosts in this very house were animated by some barely understood and distant impulse, a shadow from far away reaching out to them. Whatever the shadow is has been building for many issues. I want to say it was around issue 34 when we first started hearing about it. Also, presumably, the ghosts in the plantation from our previous episode were stirred up by whatever this as well, whatever this spirit or whatever it is as well, when the Hollywood people started shooting their movie there. The narrator mentions that the people who committed suicide with this rifle felt the touch. They thought it was the day of judgment and resurrection. We see ghosts in the bathroom making themselves presentable as Dave opens the door on them. One ghost looks a little embarrassed, clutching his towel in front of him. Then we see Swamp Thing while the narrator tells us the ghosts in the house are buzzing with excitement. We find out Franny, who previously helped Rod out a door, has decided to use a flower to cover the hole in her head.
There's a lot happening in this that kind of just hit me as I was reading it. Of like, one, I did not realize how long we've been building towards whatever's coming. I mean, this is a long time coming, and he's it's masterful how he gives us a little bit almost each issue that kind of ties all this the major event that's coming together.
Yeah,
But it can
roughly
also be a
about a
little
year
frustrating.
at this.
Yeah, but it can be a little frustrating too because it's been building so much that I'm kind of getting to the point that's like, let's hurry that the hell up a little bit. Let's get to the point. I'm kind of tired of filler up issues, and I know we've still got what, another 5 issues to go before the big reveal.
I know I said the big reveal was in 50, but I may have been wrong about that. It may actually happen a little sooner. So we'll get there though. We'll get there. I love the fact that I wanted to talk about that ghost who's embarrassed and holding the towel in front of him, like the fact that the either Alan Moore or the artist Stan Woch, one of them decided to put an embarrassed man here, and I love that.
I like the fact that I think this is like at least the second or third time we've seen a dead person that has had kind of an adorable personality. I mean, there's this guy that killed himself that's in the bathroom that's all shy. He's like, oh man, someone just saw me naked. Dude, you're dead. Who cares? And then at the plantation, we had the wonderfully delightful zombie that returned that's working at a movie theater. I still want more of him to show up because I just love that character so much.
At some point, I hope he shows up in a future Swamp Thing comic. I really do.
If DC ever hires me to start writing Swamp Thing, I'm bringing him back. I will say that right now.
Dave runs through the maze of the house and passes a Cherokee who is scowling in the moonlight. The moonlight is shining through the Cherokee's stomach. Dave continues to search for Linda. Dave knocks on wood, and the next best thing to a wood elemental shows up, a swamp elemental. Dave runs into Swamp Thing and says, "You came," as if Dave knows who Swamp Thing is. I think I might have missed their connection somewhere, but then I realized that he thinks that Swamp Thing is a wood elemental.
I did the same. Like I thought for a second, I was like, wait a second, did they meet in something that I'd missed before? So I didn't catch that until probably about the same time you did. That I eventually realized, oh, okay, no, he just the elemental thing. That's what he's going for.
Yeah, totally. And then one thing I think was a missed opportunity going back to the Cherokee at the top. The narrator tells us that moonlight was shining through his stomach, but we don't really see that. Like, I'd like to see the moonlight coming through a hole in the shadow of the Cherokee in the background there.
Yeah, when you mentioned it, I had to double take to look because I didn't see that anywhere. So I was wondering if that was a mistake by the artist or what, because I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, like I said, I think just small missed opportunity that would have made this whole book even more perfect. Um, So as we get to the next page, we see Dave thinking that Swamp Thing is a wood elemental, and that knocking on wood is actually summoned Swamp Thing. Thinks Swamp Thing is there to protect him from the ghost, and you know what? He's kind of right. Dave asks Swamp Thing for help locating his wife and friends. Swamp Thing notes that everything smells of cordite, which is a smokeless gunpowder that was invented in the 1800s.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I had no idea what it was.
I think a lot of people still use it today to do like reenactment shooting type of situations
Okay.
where they don't actually put a bullet in the gun, but they still, it still makes a loud bang.
It gives it smoke effect and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it says it's smokeless, so maybe not the smoke effect.
Okay, I wonder what they do for that because I mean I've seen videos of well, okay, to be fair, I've seen Hollywood reenactments of reenactments, and there's always smoke and loud bangs. I've never seen an actual Civil War reenactment, so I don't know if there is smoke in those or not.
The Civil War used a little bit different guns. We're talking about probably a 30-year difference between the Civil War and when this is taking place. And oddly
Mm,
enough, the technology in guns in that 30 years remarkably improved.
yeah, because you didn't have to stuff the gun anymore, and I just realized I probably should not be doing that on camera. That's not a good look, but
There's another short
uh,
for you.
But no, I guess that does make sense. They do like Western reenactments. I think like some of those like old ghost towns and stuff like that. They do have those. So um, yeah, but I guess there wouldn't be smoke coming off of those guns. So that's a good point.
Swamp Thing moves through the house, seeing all kinds of ghosts. A hunter, a tide of dead rabbits, some with shattered spines or missing legs, dragging themselves painfully and bloodily across the floor. That description of the rabbits really got to me. Like, I don't like seeing animals harmed or in pain, and nothing about this issue had really bothered me up to this point, but that part did. That part got to me a little bit.
Didn't bother me. I loved it. I mean, like I said, I love horror. So but you get a really good descriptive scene that's like, oh my god, that is really graphic and horrible. He did a beautiful job with that. Like I pictured those rabbits dragging. I was like, wow, that's good. That's a
Yeah,
writer.
I can appreciate it while still being bothered by it because, like I said, I don't like seeing animals hurt. Um, but then Swamp Thing arrives in the seance room and sees Linda. This is the eye of the madness, though I don't really like that description, as it reminds me of the eye of a hurricane, and usually those are calm. But in this case, all the shooting and shouting from Ed and the Dutchman is going on. That doesn't really seem calm. I think more was going for this room being the center of the disturbance, which I guess the Eye of a Hurricane is too. And then also Alan Moore has that thing with eyes that he always does. But I don't know. I just feel like that description could have been a little bit better. But once again, I'm nitpicking. And Swamp Thing says he knows what he must do.
The thing that I thought was good, I mean, like I liked obviously the rabbit thing. I said I mentioned I liked, but I like probably my thing that stood out the most on this page was that bottom panel. I think that was the last panel. I'm trying to remember the reading order, but like the just half of Swamp Thing's face that kind of cuts into the bottom part down there.
Yeah.
That is, I really like I love when they do that kind of stuff, and for some reason that one just really struck me. The shading on it, the detail on it, and just like it wasn't even this major thing. It was just this one little off in the corner kind of panel, but it just like kind of like framed everything beautifully for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you mean. I wasn't quite as struck by it as you were, but I can definitely appreciate the beauty there.
I think because it kind of came out of nowhere for me because I was as I was reading, I was like, okay, seeing the dead people, the rabbits, all the stuff, and then Linda passed out on the floor and all that stuff. So I get to it, and I didn't even notice it until I had to read that panel. Then I was like, oh wow, that's kind of pretty looking.
So then to quiet the ghost, Swamp Thing must make noise. So he starts pounding his fist on the table. The pounding sends the ghost flocking to him. Bang, bang, bang. And once again, we have.
I
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say like I kind of like how I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. To me, it's kind of interesting that I'm always expecting in every encounter with Swamp Thing and whatever it is he's going up against, I'm always expecting an epic fight. And it feels like it's always a 50-50 thing. Maybe you're going to get that fight. Like I think the werewolf, we got the fight a little bit. And then sometimes you get something like this where it's like, yeah, he's not really doing much. He's just banging a table and then that's about it.
But this is our third type of banging. The way that they've used. Whoa, fourth if you count the fact that Linda was banging Rod. Four types of banging in the comic book.
Technically, it wasn't Linda that was banging Rob. It was Ghost Woman.
Well, uh, I guess we'll get to the part where Linda was banging Ron. Anyway, um, so when we go to the next page, let's see. The ghost flowing around Swamp Thing headed for one of the 13 fireplaces in the seance room. 47 chimneys belch black cordite scented smoke. Swamp Thing finds Linda and notes he hears nothing else in the house. He carries Linda outside for her mate to find her, and then Swamp Thing leaves.
I'm I have no problem with that. I mean, I probably would have left the
Swamp Thing's a
you know
better
what
person
word?
than you
Yeah, I was gonna say you know what word I'm thinking. I probably would have left her behind.
are. So then on the next page, Dave finds Linda and is thankful she's alive. Linda immediately calls out for Rod. Um, Dave is understandably confused and says he doesn't think that they are going to make it out of the house. Linda angrily tells Dave that she's been sleeping with Rod for 6 months. There's the banging I was talking about. Then she asks Dave to drive her in Rod's car. She wants to call an ambulance or the cops or something. Uh, Dave, shrouded in shadows, tells Linda that he is coming.
I I all I'm gonna say, and I know it happens, but all I'm gonna say is I really really hope this was not the last point we saw because it just Dave needed some balls. He needed to stand up for himself a little bit here.
It was a shock at first because he's been shocked by what's going on and what's happening, and but I think he's also accepted it and realized a lot of what he's seen, and he's like at the end in that last panel, he's just like calm and zen. He's like, "Yes, Linda, I'm coming."
Okay, maybe if I took it like that, I wouldn't have been as annoyed because I was annoyed by that part just because I think I took it as he just gave in. He was just like, all right, she's a dirty slut and she's cheating on me and she's gonna abuse, like she's basically emotionally abusing me. All right, I got nothing. I'm just gonna go follow her. That's the way I took it. I did not take it as the calmness of like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm coming.
It's also possible, again, this is one of the stories that stuck out to me that I remembered from my first read through that I remembered really well. So, knowing what's coming, I might have taken that differently than I did the very first time I read it. So, that may be my perception because of knowing what's coming. Next, we see that Swamp Thing finds Constantine. Swamp Thing says he came, but knows that Constantine will only give him another riddle and never the truth. Constantine tells someone to come on out because Swamp Thing wants the truth.
I I like the panel of the upshot of I think they call it a worm's eye view of Constantine lighting the cigarette draped in this trench coat, almost like it's a cloak or something. There's just something about that. This looks kind of cool to me.
Yeah, that's a well structured panel with Swamp Thing's leg and arm framing the panel. I agree. That's pretty cool. And then we kind of get the same thing on the bottom with the legs of the two people that Swamp Thing is called out, the lads, are kind of framing Swamp Thing and Constantine down there in that bottom panel in the same way.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that is kind of a good point. Um, I got my hopes up. I got my hopes up really big when I saw those legs. I was like, oh, is this going to be something interesting? Is this going to be somebody big? Who's going to guest star in the comic? Let's turn the page.
All right, so we go to the next page, and we see Benjamin Cox and Frank North, who previously appeared in Swamp Thing when Constantine was trying to figure out what was coming that was causing all the chaos. Constantine says these men will be helping in the final stages. Swamp Thing is confused about what the final stages are. Constantine mentions a missing London operative and says that Sister Anne Marie has gone to find the missing London contact. Frank mentions, which she was in that previous comic as well. Frank mentions that they need to be going, and Swamp Thing is confused about where they're going. Constantine says that they are going to show Swamp Thing the bloody truth that he has been so keen on. Constantine says they have front row tickets to the end of the universe, and he thought he'd better use them since there might not be a second performance. And this is a reference to the upcoming crisis for which our show is named.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to hopefully finally getting to the answer of what we've been waiting for. But I'm not getting my hopes up because every time I get my hopes up in a Swamp Thing book, it doesn't pan out. As in our guest stars, who it took me about 3 or 4 minutes to remember who the hell they were because I forgot all about these people.
It may also help that I've been reading some of Constantine's books also. So I kind of know some of his friends from his book as well.
Okay, so that yeah, they must be been pretty important in his book because here I don't. I mean, like I eventually did recall who they were, but at the time, it took me a minute, and I don't recall them being like anything that was like, oh, this is a big shock. Um, I don't know. Like maybe as it goes on, I might get to know these characters more, and I might get into them more. So I will give more of that. He does have a good point of doing that stuff.
And Delano, when Delano was writing Constantine, he kind of took all of the elements that Moore had with Constantine and kind of carried them over. And one thing Delano does with Constantine, which I'm pretty sure is going to last through whoever is writing Constantine, Constantine tends to, his friends who aren't elementals tend to die a lot. And then Constantine collects their ghost, and their ghosts interact with Constantine continuously. And the more friends he has that die, the more ghosts he's surrounded by who he interacts with. So, just a little preview for Constantine if you haven't read it, and what makes him and his characters so interesting.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I did not know that. I read a little bit of I think it was Brian Azariel. I think I'm saying the name right. He wrote Hellblazer for a very short period of time, and I think I got most of that run, and I read it, and it wasn't bad. Uh, but I think by that point, I believe they might have steered away from a lot of the stuff that Delano and wasn't it Garth Ennis that kind of kicked off.
It is, yeah, it is took a turn on the book as well. Although Innis, I haven't read it myself. I'm still reading through Delano's two big thick omnibuses, but Innis has said that he felt like he took Constantine away from his roots and that he made Constantine too powerful, and he kind of regrets doing that. He wishes he hadn't done that on his run. So apparently, it's kind of a status quo change and a style change once Ennis takes over. Um,
Okay.
but I haven't gotten there personally yet, and I really dig what Delano was putting down.
Okay. So then Delano did start Constantine, started Hellblazer, and then okay. So
Yeah,
Ennis
Delano
came
was
on
the
later.
first writer after Moore.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm that's how little I know about the character outside of like television appearances. I don't know a lot about him.
In the epilogue, we see Dave in a gun shop. He has just purchased a gun. The gun clerk says he sells a lot of them without complaint. Knock on wood, a common phrase throughout this comic. The clerk says, "You have to take good care of that gun," and Dave says he doesn't plan to use it very often. Dave drives home with the blood pounding in his temples and the sounds of hammers that never stop. And then in that final panel, we see somebody has pulled the hammer back on the gun and is getting ready to pull the trigger. In my mind, the gun that he is carrying out of the gun store is a Cambridge repeater rifle.
Oh, I assume that's what it was. I mean, it even looks the same as the one we see earlier in the book.
Yeah. So yeah, this is why to me, that previous panel where he says, "Yes, Linda, I'm coming." He has realized what he's going to do. Maybe even at this point he's been possessed by the ghost of something from the house, or allowed something, an evil spirit, a mean spirit into himself because he was so upset about what Linda had done to him.
I and this is going to sound so cold. I have no sympathy for Linda if that was her fate. I like okay. I mean, the cheating part was bad enough. It's like okay, that sucks. But the fact that she was such a douche about it, like she like belittled him, and it's like all of that. It's like that's what kind of really made me like. I'm hoping, and I have to phrase this just right because this is going to sound so wrong. I'm hoping the character of Linda was taken care of in a particularly violent way to satisfy the story's needs. I hope that that came out the way it
We
was
know
not
what you
like.
meant.
Yes, I know, but again, I have to emphasize the character because if this was a real situation, this would be a horrible thing, and I would not sympathize with Dave whatsoever. But since it's a story, I'm like, you get her done.
So overall, this issue wasn't the best, in my opinion. The art was
No,
really, really cool, but it also felt like a filler issue that Swamp Thing was barely in. And the most interesting part was Constantine showing up at the end. Also, that
if
little bit about the rabbits kind of got to me, so I'll give the comic book credit for that for sure. If you make me feel emotional, that will bump up the score a little bit when I read the comic book. Um, I think overall, I'm gonna give this, and I'm actually gonna improve the score a little bit after discussing it with you and realizing some of the juxtaposition between the bangings and the fact that there's four different kinds of banging. Um, I'm gonna say that overall, I'm gonna give this a 3.5 out of 5 Cambridge repeating rifles. This high of a score was mostly due to the art. The faces were expressive throughout. The blood and gore were pretty good. The way the dark scenes looked was really good, like when with those purples and those blue colors. The colors just did an amazing job. The art really carried this book for me this time.
I'm gonna go with a 2.5 score. I'm going a little bit lower, and it's technically it probably should be a little higher because all in all, I agree with everything you said. Of the art was really good. I thought it was handled well. I thought it was a good story. I thought it was very well written. It just to me, it felt more like this is a House of Mystery story. This is something I would have read possibly in the House of Mystery, or like I said, Tales from the Crypt, something like that. Of like this doesn't really belong in Swamp Thing because he was barely in it. It felt like two stories mashed together. Swamp Thing just kind of comes in and like, oh hey, I'm here by the way, and now I'm going to go see Constantine. It just felt like none of this was very important, but still a good story. Uh, I'm also getting very frustrated with. I'm tired of the waiting. Like I like the anticipation of making me have to wait a little bit of dragging a story out to build up the suspense. But at this point, he's just dragging a dead horse. I mean, this is just like, I mean, he hasn't even beat it. I mean, like, he beat it a long time ago. We're just dragging it now because this is taking forever to get to whatever is going to happen. So that's getting a little annoying with me. And I'm not going to lie, the necrophilia took it down just about a half a point.
I didn't even think about that aspect of it. But I think it kind of I talk a lot about the art. Like the art to me is very, very important. And I think that the fact that you're giving it such a low score and I'm giving it a much higher score comparatively kind of speaks to what our priorities are. I say it's like 50-50 art and story. I want to see really good art. I want to have a really good story. And for you, maybe the art doesn't weigh quite as much as the story does. And I get that.
Not,
That's cool.
and well, here's the thing is that it should. The perfect comic book to me should be really well done artwork, a very well done story. It's like in wrestling. It's like okay, if by some miracle you get a brilliant told story with some really good wrestling, that's like holy crap, that's amazing. The reality that doesn't happen very often. So I've come to expect like okay, the art's not always going to be as important as the story because 9 times out of 10 when I'm picking a book up off the stands, I'm probably going to end up with some not great artwork. I mean, in fact, there's a couple books I've kind of flipped through recently, newer books that have come out with, or came out. I think it was during the DCKO stuff. There was one in particular that the artwork was just not that great, uh, but the story was pretty decent. So okay, I was able to suffer through it, and that happens to me so much that I have to put story ahead of artwork.
Yeah. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. It's just art. I don't know. Art may even weigh a little bit more than story. I don't know. I think they're about 50-50 for me. Like I have to see the balance of both.
It should be like that, but I mean, let's put it this way: I have suffered through some of my favorite characters uh, during the '90s, buying their books specifically for the character, and then uh, like reading it and like, oh, this was really good. The artwork at the time sucked. Like I can name like probably 3 books off the top of my head that just the artwork was just not that great, especially at that age. I think I may have been like, you know, 13, somewhere between 13 and 16 years old when I'm getting these books. and I want Jim Lee. That's what I want on a comic book at that age. Is Jim Lee, and God help me for saying this, Rob Liefeld. Just something powerful and cool looking and big muscly guys beating the crap out of each other and stuff. And sometimes you got like, okay, this is not any of that.
I think I can get behind some Jim Lee and some Rob Liefeld if the coloring is digital and modern. I have come to realize that a lot of my issues with comic books, especially the older ones, are the way that they're colored. And I think part of that may be that they were colored for pulp paper. And when I view them on glossy pages, they don't look as good. Um,
No,
and I think that's why I prefer modern digital coloring because most of what I view my books on is glossy pages.
and I mean that's fine to each their own, no matter how wrong the person saying it is. But I mean, like I like the old stuff. I like the old stuff the way that it is, and I have no complaints with it. I remember it fondly. It's like going back and watching, a crappy cartoon that you grew up with. That like now compared to modern stuff that's coming out, yeah, it's not that great, but that nostalgia is what kind of keeps it still good.
All right. Well, that seems like a good place to end today's episode. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We are really glad that you're here with us watching. We do this for the love of the comics medium. Cookie and I got to hang out just this past Saturday, and we spent the entire day talking about comics. It was great and so much fun. That's how much we like comics. We get together outside of our little channel here, and we talk about comics together.
Exactly. And play Hero Clicks too. Let's throw that in there. Hero Clicks is an awesome game. I'm getting into it. So, if there's people out there that are not playing it and you're a comic book fan, I highly recommend you check it out.
Fun game.
Um, yes. Also, please join us on our Patreon where we have our post crisis chat book club for our members. On there, we will let our patrons get their say on the book whenever you guys start doing it. And we will start reading those comments once we start getting them. And then also, hey, if you want a little bit more of us, you can check us out on Blue Sky. The link is in the description below.
Also, don't forget to check out the description for links to our Amazon affiliate page. You can pick up the book we were reading tonight in various formats. If you click the Amazon affiliate link to make the purchase, a little bit of your purchase comes back to the channel and it doesn't cost you anything extra. I would just like to take a quick moment here. Let me. This is my copy of Absolute Swamp Thing. You can see how huge it is compared to my head. And I have a big head. And you can see how gorgeous this cover is. It feels like moss. You can own this for yourself, and it's not even that expensive. Check out that affiliate link down below.
And for those of you at home keeping score, this is the third time he has brought it up. And if you're wondering, yes, he does sleep with it.
Yes, it makes an amazing pillow.
And then also, if you could like this video, give this channel a subscribe and comment on the video as soon as you see those things, or as soon as you see it pop up and everything, comment on it. Those things really do help us support and they help the channel grow.
Absolutely. And last, I want to give a big shout out to our editor, Nacho King. So, true story. I had been delayed a little bit in uploading our latest video. I just kind of ran out of time. But our editor stays on top of things, and he was able to remind me today that I had forgotten to upload that video. So I was able to jump in and take care of it, and that way we're able to get our videos out on time. So thank you for that, James. I appreciate that you do things like that.
Yes, definitely. In fact, actually, I want to throw this out there. This is another reason why I would love it if we start getting Patreon and people start giving us money, not just because we would love to have money, but hey, if we start getting money off this thing, we can start giving him the reward he deserves for putting up with this crap that we do.
right? He definitely deserves like a good chunk of what we make off this, which, so far been about $10, if that. That's total.
That's actually more than I expected. So we're doing good. We're doing good. We're in the black or the red. Well, I forget which one is good, but we're in one of those.
We're definitely in the red.
Okay, that works for me.
So,
um,
everybody, let's so for our sign off phrase tonight, let's hope that you are not as in the red as our channel is.
okay, I'll go with that. That sounds good.
You got something better?
I got. I was probably gonna say something like, like keep your wigs on, or I was gonna try and throw something in from the Swamp Thing comic, but no, let's go with the red. The red works.
Okay, very good. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.